What's up everybody, I'm Derek, this is Rocking E Forge, and today I am out of archived project videos to share with you. I've been super busy at work, so I have nothing scripted or prepared for this week's video. As a result, I decided I was going to just go back to the drawing board, so to speak, pull up my list of video ideas and give you a list of my top 5 tools that I have made since I started blacksmithing. Now, in the interest of me not just doing a talking head video the entire time, I am going to show you the tools physically here in the studio, as well as show clips and pictures of the tools either in use or just what they look like as we go through them. This is going to be fairly stream of consciousness. I don't have anything scripted or really ready for a video this weekend, so Alex, my editor, sorry in advance. I had to go get my tool bag from my truck because that's where I typically keep my tools more recently, and the bag's like 80 pounds, so. All right, so first things first, I'm gonna start out with an honorable mention, and if you've watched any of my videos, you've probably seen me use this. Now, at first glance, this looks like just a simple steel ruler. However, it's got this little hook on it that allows me to hook it over the edge of a hot piece of steel that I'm trying to measure and get a fairly accurate measurement. Now, the reason this is an honorable mention is because it's not really a tool I made per se. It started out as an old steel square, and the skinny end of the square came out this direction. I cut it off at an angle to make that little hook. I got the idea from Black Bear Forge here on YouTube, and it's been an indispensable tool since I repurposed that old metal square that I had. It is highlighted in almost every video that I have on this channel. So, good honorable mention, one of my most useful tools that I've used. Now, the number 5 slot of my favorite tools that I have made has to be my guillotine tool, along with the hand-forged dies that I made for this tool. I use this tool very frequently. I think I originally made it for my chess set build series in order to make small fullers into the bases of a lot of my chess pieces, and I've used it frequently ever since. I've made a set of butchering dies that I use quite frequently in order to neck down a piece of stock in order to make it a little skinnier for a tenon. And I use my fullering dies. Both of these I made by hand out of mild steel in order to, put slim marks into various things. It's highlighted in a lot of the videos that I've made, and it makes the number 5 spot in this video because it is so frequently used in my bag of tools. And it's one of the first things that I ever really welded together. The guillotine frame portion of this is simply just a 1-inch mild steel bar with some 1-inch mild steel tubing welded onto it. One of the first things I ever welded, and it does the job, and that is good enough for me. So it gets the number 5 spot because of how frequently I use it and how useful it's been, even though it's very simple. Number 4 on my list of favorite tools that I've ever made is the first pair of tongs that I've ever made. And I never made a video for this. This was kind of the experimentation phase of making a pair of tongs. And I was originally trying to make a small pair of flat jaw tongs. And in the process of forging the jaws, this is where I learned that if you forge the boss, or the point where the rivet goes in, too skinny, you'll have an offset of your tong jaws, and getting those to line up will be very difficult. So in the process of making those, I ended up cutting off those flat jaws and then forging them into a very small pair of bolt jaw tongs, and this is the first pair of tongs I ever made. They're not very pretty, but they do hold very small stock, smaller than a 1/4 inch, for when I'm making things like leaf keychains or, trying to hold very small tapers to work on the other end of them. I use these quite frequently, and that's why they made number 4 on this list. Now, the number 3 favorite tool that I have ever made is my pair of flat jaw tongs. Now, these are the tongs that are highlighted in my Making Tongs Without Tongs video, which you can see at the link there, and are still the nicest looking and best pair of tongs that I've ever made. And they were the second pair of tongs I've ever made. Granted, I haven't made many more pairs of tongs, and only from kits thus far. I've got a few pairs of tongs in the works that I started forging when I was back in California, and I've put those on pause because I was making videos about them, because YouTube seems to like my tong making videos. So I'm in the process of making more tongs. For the time being, these are my favorite, primarily because they're the first professional looking pair of tongs I ever made, and they were the second pair I ever made after learning the lessons from the number 4 slot on this list. And it was one of the first videos that I ever produced on this channel. In fact, I think other than my TikTok blacksmithing on a budget videos, I think this pair of tongs was highlighted in my first full-length video that I ever made and posted, and it's one of my better performing videos on this channel. They're very sturdy, the reins don't have a lot of flex, they hold pretty much anything that is flat very nicely. I'm just very proud of the way they came out, and that's why they are number 3. Now, in the number 2 slot for my favorite tools that I have ever made is my center punch that I made for this video. And the reason that this makes the number 2 slot out of all of the punches and chisels that I've made is because it is the first punch that I made without doing it in somebody else's style. Most of the punches and chisels that I've made, and those that I've featured on this channel, are forged in the style of Mark Asbury, a mastersmith in California, and this was the first one that, while I did take elements of his general design, I kind of forged to be not really of anyone else's style. It's got a thin kind of rectangular profile down to a mostly square but still octagonal tip, and then ground to that fairly sharp point for the center punch portion of the tool itself. Now, I tried to keep this in more of a square profile and then just kind of knock down the edges of that square to make the octagonal profile. And other than it being a little rough in this particular zone or, part of the punch, I'm generally very happy with how this turned out. I use this punch every time I need to center punch something prior to drilling or punching a hole, and I'm very proud of the way that it turned out when I wasn't really following someone else's set of rules, so to speak. So that's why this tool makes number 2 on this list. Now, my number 1 favorite tool that I have made is the holdfast, and unfortunately it's not this holdfast. Now, this holdfast is the one featured in a previous video, which is another one of the videos that have done fairly well for my channel in the grand scheme of things. My number 1 favorite tool is actually the first holdfast that I ever forged, and the first tool that I ever forged, made out of a simple piece of 1/2-inch rebar. I forged my first holdfast not on any video, not even hardly on camera. Took a few photos of it for my Instagram and forged it 3 years ago last month, and just made it out of a piece of 1/2-inch rebar as a kind of need a tool, make a tool moment on the first week that I actually broke out my forge and started laying a hammer to hot steel. The reason this is my favorite tool is simply because it was the first tool I ever made, and I forged it in the first week or so of actually starting my blacksmith journey. So, very simple tool. All I did was forge the foot of the holdfast, so to speak, that lays flat on the anvil, and then a simple round taper to make the shank so that it fit in the hardy hole of the anvil I was using at the time, and it worked for me for years before I made my new one. Now, the reason I don't have it with me today is because it was forged for a different anvil, and as a result it started to slip out of the pritchel hole in my newer anvil, and I had to make a new one so that I had one that would more consistently hold the pieces that I'm trying to keep stationary while I'm punching, chiseling, or touch marking them. And as a result, that first tool that I ever made got packed up in my move to Connecticut, and I won't probably see it again for another few months when I move to Washington State. But because of the sentimental value and the use that I got out of it, that tool is and probably will remain my number 1 favorite tool that I have ever forged. Alright, that is gonna do it for today's video. I do hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please drop a like, leave a comment, hit subscribe, ring that notification bell. If you want to support me and the channel further, please consider becoming an honorary striker on my Patreon. That link is in the description below the video. And as always, keep on rockin'.